Now we need to find the location of these large temples. We can see ahead of us 2, maybe 3 temples. There's one right there. Another one, it looks like through the trees quite at a distance, and that may be this large one here. The first one on our left may be that one. And then, raising the camera, there, the third one, and that may be one of these 2. But it begs the question, did they bury the 28th Illinois Infantry in this mound and create the mound for that? Or did they take this mound, which was an earlier Indian mound, and convert it to that use? Now what's interesting is I look here, this looks like a burrow pit here, it looks like a mound there, maybe a mound further on, a low one, another burrow pit right in front of us. But as it was with kangaroos in Australia, which after a day or half a day of driving through the Nullarbor, where they were all about us and not seeing one, suddenly my eye focused on one, my brain knew what they looked like, and all of a sudden I saw them behind every bush. Literally, they were there. My brain just had to recognize that. Notice we're walking along kind of a little plateau here. Here it drops off. So this is the elevation roughly that this community was built on. And this may be a bridge going over what was a stream runoff from this burrow pit. But notice even now it looks to have a very pretty defined circular design to it. Was that intentional? So a little bit closer view of this mound. It's not a perfect symmetrical design, but then who knows what's happened in 600 years of rain. And you may notice in the middle of town is a deer who I doubt in the day would not have had the courage to be there. But now I'm just another one of those humans he sees walking about all the time. What I didn't see was her little fawn, somewhat hidden by a tree. What I also didn't see were 2 more deer right there. If I'm correct, there are 2 fawns there, if in fact they're fawns. I didn't realize that. So here's another view of the mound. I won't climb up on it, but you can be sure that it's flat topped because it would have held either a religious building or one of the elders' homes. And all around us might have been the small homes of the people who lived here, and maybe other buildings, and maybe some of the small burial mounds. I'm not clear whether the small mounds were for homes or for burials or both. Just to orientate ourselves, I've walked by that mound on the left side. I'm panning across the center of town, looking at that third large mound, and now we see its companion behind it and to the left, and here we're approaching this large mound, which I think we go up on top of. And here to my left is a smaller mound, but still a fairly substantial mound. And that would be E on our map. So here's an artist's view of the town from perhaps on top of the mound that I'm on. People playing stickball. And you can be sure they had their Michael Jordans, who were revered in their history, playing the game chunky. I don't know what the dimension is of the village as I pan it, but I would guess it to be probably 6 to 10 acres. What we've walked through and what we'll be walking through here a little bit to our left. There's that first big mound that we went by to the left of as we are viewing it now, and that's our third mound there. We're sitting on what I called number 2. There was our other larger mound, and here we have a spectacular view to the Tennessee River, making this one of the most important villages on the river in its time. The other large village was downstream in Savannah, which of course has been destroyed by the construction of Savannah. But it would have rivaled this town. There would have been, the interpretive sign says, approximately several thousand people living along this river within a 25-mile distance of this town. And all of them would have traded and used the resources in common. And they also traded far afield, as we already know, to the east, and even perhaps for this culture, including the obsidian from Yellowstone. Now this mound that I'm standing on, as you can see, is built right on the edge of the water. So it was a prominent structure seen from land, and certainly as seen from the water. And probably all of these trees and vegetation around here had been cleared away over time. In trade, it refers to flint, greenstone and mica, and copper from the Great Lakes. It doesn't refer to the obsidian of Wyoming. So the mound we were just on is in the upper right-hand corner, right along that steep ridge that the topo lines are defining. And we're now walking down the map towards C. So that's Mound D, and we'll loop back to that after we've gone past Mound B, which is this one, and down this trail to Mound C, which is a burial mound. Orientate you if I'm not disorientating you. We're now traveling from left to right, from the big mound on the left to the right, down to C, and then we're looping around this B, which is to our right now, back up to D. What's interesting is to look at how these three mounds appear to be in alignment. Was that intentional? On the map it appears that these generally point from west to east. And we're standing at the easternmost portion, and that's the western. Actually, it's northwest to southwest. We're at the southwest of that alignment, approximately. Be able to tell looking through the trees that it drops off this plateau we're on precipitously inland there, and of course there's that C mound, the burial mound we're approaching, and here is the east edge of town alongside the Tennessee River, which again drops off precipitously. I'll walk here a little bit closely so we can see. Not as precipitous as some I've been on, of course, but steep nevertheless.